Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Just to center you. Thank you. Oh, you look so beautiful.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
When democracy is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When democracy is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When democracy is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Too young. Should it start?
It's okay, we gotta get warmed up. It's all right. They were coming to get the speaker, so I think it's fine.
Peace and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming out today. My name is Donovan Tavares, and I am a Community Safety Coordinator at the Justice Committee, an organization that works with families who have lost loved ones to the police and survivors of police violence. We are here today to call out what's been a sham charter revision process and demand that Mayor Adams and his commissioners put nothing on the November ballot. We're here because in an hour, Eric Adams' commission buddies are expected to vote on proposed items for this sham process so they can be rushed onto the November ballot. Make no mistake, this is a shady and undemocratic power grab by the mayor that would be funny if it wasn't so serious. If the commission rubber stamps these bad and dangerous changes to our city's constitution, we could be stuck with these changes for generations. Mayor Adams' sham charter commission process and what they're proposing for the November ballot are bad for democracy. And when democracy is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
From the start, this process has been a mess, rushed, disorganized, and shady. They held hearings that were barely announced and hardly attended. Commission members promoted misinformation during hearings on a variety of topics that were disrespectful to New Yorkers who were critical of the process and raised concerns. I was personally shocked at one of the hearings where they rudely muted New Yorkers whose loved ones had been killed by police. They muted the sister of Chantel Davis and the brother of Alan Felice when they got to time with zero warning, even though Natasha Duncan and Sammy Felice were finishing their testimony. In the meantime, they let many other speakers who were uncritical go past their time, politely asked them to wrap up, and even suggested that they send in more written comments. This is biased and disrespectful. Their hearings and this vote were packed into 7 weeks. And now they dropped this final report at the last minute, less than 48 hours before their vote. This whole thing has been rushed because it's not about what's right for New Yorkers. It's about politics and a mayor who's acting in bad faith. Charter revision commissions are supposed to be serious business, taking the time to carefully review the city charter, our city's constitution, and getting input from experts and the public. This commission had no intention of doing that from the beginning. If this commission really cared about its job, it would take the time to do it right. We are standing here together to fight back against this. Thanks for being here today. Let's keep pushing for a government that truly represents the will of New Yorkers, and let's get it started. Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Our first speaker is the Civic Engagement Coordinator at Make the Road New York, Perla Silva.
Thank you. Muy buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. How y'all doing? That's right. My name is Perla Silva. I am the Senior Civic Engagement Coordinator at Make the Road New York. And I've been living in New York City almost my whole life. Make the Road has 27,000 members across the state. We run in organizing committees every week in our offices that are attended by hundreds of members. When we do outreach work about new programs or how to get people to participate in elections, we speak to thousands of people in one day. That's why it's obvious to me that Eric Adams' Charter Review Commission, which could add the 5 questions about New York City's ballot in November, is a move to consolidate impunity for one of the most dangerous police departments in the country. It is a surgically planned attempt to continue disenfranchising the voters that disagree with this agenda and any opponents in the city. Let's begin with the undemocratic commission that was set up by Eric Adams. The commission has deliberately made it hard for the working class of New Yorkers like myself to even give the testimony in these hearings, let alone to have time to actually educate our members that can give Eric Adams a piece of their mind. Politicians like Adam act like this when they are scared of our organized power that they faced an informed, organized public. Now that they are poised to adopt a ballot measure which would make the public safety related legislation harder to achieve and consolidate power in the mayor's hand, on what grounds? On Monday, the commissioners were quick to point out that 600 New Yorkers had attended their meetings, as if that was a mandate to change the fundamental documents of New York City. Let me be the first to say that that's not enough. We know that. We see over 600 members at Make the Road New York. Does that make sense? No. And we know we need to talk with more than people to make a decision about our organization, let alone a city of 8 million people. The commissioner should slow the process down, wait to inform and educate New Yorkers, and then process like we do with our members at Make the Road. Not this ballot power grab. But unfortunately, the impact of this commission is that city's charter revision is not limited to attack the city council's ability to make decisions and so-called public safety. I'm going to say some quick words in Spanish, summarizing what I said. Mi nombre es Perla Silva, soy la coordinadora cívica de Make the Road New York. En Make the Road New York, en el estado de Nueva York, tenemos más de 27,000 miembros y solamente quiero compartir que esta nueva comisión compartió solamente con 600 personas para el voto que van a tener. Y en Make the Road New York hablamos con más de 1,000 members al día cuando hacemos nuestras juntas. So, no tiene sentido que solamente tengan esta conversación con 600 personas de Nueva York cuando somos 8 millones de neoyorquinos. And that's my time. Thank you so much. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Perla. Next, I'm going to bring up Lurie Daniel Favors, Executive Director of the Center for Law and Social Justice at Medgar Evers College.
When democracy is under attack, what do we do? Good afternoon. My name is Lurie Daniel Favors. I'm the Executive Director at the Center for Law and Social Justice at the Medgar Evers College. And I have had the privilege of actually serving as a commissioner on a commission with the capacity to amend our city's charter. The New York City Racial Justice Commission, which had the same capacity as this. And one thing I know for sure is that this process is serious. It requires deliberation, it requires transparency, and it requires the ability to meaningfully include the voice of experts and we, the people. Unfortunately, this commission brought together under the leadership of Mayor Eric Adams has been rushed, it has been disorganized, it has been non-transparent. The meetings were poorly noticed and marginally attended. With the final report out less than 48 hours after they were to vote on it, they were telling community members you have the ability to still contribute written testimony at a hearing when their website was dated the end date of testimony as of July 12th. This is what happens. These are the type of sloppy mistakes that happen when you are not deliberate, when you are not intentional about gathering the voices of the people and incorporating them in your process. This is a process that has allowed for the mayor's office to, these commission recommendations will allow the mayor's office to interfere with the legislative process and will allow them to avoid the type of inquiry and the type of oversight that our city council members are elected to uphold. It is also time for we in our community to break with the paradigm that says representation is all that matters. While representation is important, it can also be weaponized against us. We can no longer stay silent about policies that harm our communities, budgets that sacrifice the needs of our people. We are no longer going to be able to maintain the skin folk paradigm when it comes to holding elected officials accountable. We call upon this commission to stop this process, to reinitiate a meaningful process, one that is actually designed to incorporate the voices of the people. And we pray that the city of New York, that voters will pay attention. When there are power grabs happening in front of you, we pay attention. Be at the city council hearings, hear what they're saying, watch what they do, and make sure you are ready to go to the polls and vote your way come November. Thank you.
Can folks tighten up a little bit? Cool. Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Next, I want to bring up a very special person in this fight. She's been a champion for things that have come from the voices of the people. I want to bring up the New York City Council Speaker, Adrienne Adams.
Ooh, what a day. I'm having a brat summer, are you?
Yeah.
All right now. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I am New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams, and I have the honor of leading the most diverse women majority council in the history of the city of New York. I am so proud to stand here with my colleagues, Council Member Gail Brewer and Council Member Shahana Hanif. We know that our public advocate, Jamani Williams, is also on the way to join us. I also want to acknowledge all of the New Yorkers and organizations who brought us here today in defense of our city's democracy. Our 51 council members were elected by New Yorkers in every neighborhood of this city to represent their diverse interests. They put us in office to make city government more responsive to them. That is democracy in action. And what we expect to take place inside this building within minutes by the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission is not democracy, but an active attack on democracy.
That's right.
The people of New York City elected one mayor and 51 council members to represent them. They did not vote for a mayor to be both mayor and city council.
Say that.
We take that part. We take the responsibility of representation very seriously, everybody, because our job is to make government more responsive to New Yorkers' needs. We saw this in the recent budget process, where the council helped restore budget cuts that the mayor made to key city services, including our precious libraries like the one that we stand in front of today. Our efforts made it possible for us to reopen this very library branch on Sundays, which we celebrated less than 2 weeks ago. This council works alongside New Yorkers. We listen to them. We listen to you. We fight for priorities, your priorities, ensuring government improves their daily lives. We do this through open hearings and policy changes, offering opportunities for the public to engage and share their feedback. The council takes almost 10 months on average to review one bill before a final vote. This due diligence should be the standard because New Yorkers deserve an open and transparent government. By contrast, the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission has rushed a far more extensive process, taking only 9 weeks to review the entire city constitution and propose changes to alter it for over 8 million people. This is the greatest show of hypocrisy, and it is an attack on our democracy. What is clear is that the Mayor's Commission was created simply to block voters from deciding on the existing advice and consent proposal in this November's election. A proposal that would strengthen democracy by making the appointment of 20 additional agency commissioners more transparent and responsive. Instead of allowing New Yorkers to exercise their right to vote on this existing proposal, the Mayor's Commission has hastily come up with new proposals that undermine democracy without even giving the public a chance to provide input on the final proposals. The Commission's rushed proposals were released less than 48 hours ago, yet they're being voted on today without meaningful review or input of New Yorkers. This should set all kinds of alarm bells for you. New Yorkers, do not let the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission distract you from the truth. This hasty, undemocratic process weakens our city's democracy and makes government less responsive to you. So let's call this what it is. It is an attempt at mayoral control over the legislative body that was elected to represent the people of the city of New York. It is a dangerous attempt to shift power away from the people represented by the city council to one single individual. Do you want a king? No. Do you want a king? No. This is a dangerous attempt to shift power away from the people represented by the city council to one single individual. No one person should have this much power. It is anti-democratic. It is anti-you, especially at a time when our democracy is under threat of attack at a national level. New York City should be a model for upholding democracy and representative government, not weakening it and tearing it down. The Mayor's Commission hopes to hide their political motivations and confuse New Yorkers with some of these proposals. But they have underestimated you. They have underestimated New Yorkers. Our ability to see through the fog, we will know the truth and you will see the truth. Let's be clear about this, everybody. This fight is about preserving our democracy. It is about protecting the checks and balances that uphold representative democracy to make government work for all of the people. If the proposals by this Mayor's Commission end up on the ballot in November, New Yorkers should oppose them. We don't want a king of New York City. You can try that somewhere else, but not here. In New York City, we have a representative government with a council that reflects our diverse communities. Our power comes from the people who elected us, not from counterfeit processes that undermine our democracy. Let's be united, everybody. Let's be united in sending that message loud and clear. We reject this anti-democratic effort. New Yorkers will not stand for it. New Yorkers must reject it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker Adrian Adams. Next, I want to bring up Donna Lieberman, the Executive Director of the New York Civil Liberties Union.
Good afternoon, everybody. The New York Civil Liberties Union stands with the City Council leadership, our public advocate, and the civil rights community to oppose the charter amendments being proposed by the mayor and his hastily appointed Charter Revision Commission. The proposed amendments are a thinly disguised power grab by the mayor. New Yorkers know that the real reason for the power grab is to tie the City Council up in procedural knots in order to prevent meaningful legislative regulation and oversight of the NYPD and the Department of Corrections. These proposed amendments are downright dangerous. They undermine the bedrock principle of separation of powers and make agencies like the NYPD even less accountable to New Yorkers. We urge the Commission to keep those dangerous measures off the November ballot. The proposed charter amendments are a thinly veiled attempt to do an end run around the City Council and the will of New Yorkers. The mayor and his commission would have us believe this is all about process and transparency. Well, let's talk about process. It's been less than 60 days since the first meeting of the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission. They've had minimal public input, and today they will vote to formally propose serious limitations on the power of the City Council to do its job and represent the will of the people. They had their last public input session July 22nd, and they issued their final 125-page report and recommendations less than 24 hours later. We all know there was no time to consider that input. That ain't right. Is that right? This is not transparent. This is not remotely robust public comment. This is not what democracy looks like. This is a sham. And they know it. Especially since they spent less than 60 days being oh so deliberative and oh so inclusive in proposing amendments to our city's charter. While the amendment they propose would prohibit the people's elected representatives, the New York City Council, from passing any legislation regarding the police department or Department of Corrections without needless, cumbersome layers of delay totaling over 95 days. 95 days worth of hoops and potholes so the City Council can't do its job. Legislation is a big deal, but amending the city charter, it's the city's constitution, and selectively limiting the power of our elected representatives is an even bigger deal with far more lasting and irreversible consequences. These amendments to our city's constitution would be a disservice to New Yorkers and our democracy, and the Commission should not put them on the November ballot. I want to add that there is indeed one proposal that will be on the ballot in November that does reflect New York values and democracy, and that's Prop 1. Prop 1 is the New York State ERA that would amend, thank you, woo! That would amend our state constitution after lots of deliberation to protect equality and abortion rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Next, I want to bring up another champion of fights that have come from the people, New York City Public Advocate Jamani Williams.
Peace and blessings, love and light to everybody. It's hot in more ways than one. I'm not going to curse because my mom is here. She doesn't like it, but I'm going to shout out my mom over there, the real public advocate. The real public advocate. This is absurd that we even have to be here, by the way. My first message to the mayor is, because he has not been able to understand this, but every city elected official was elected at the exact same time by the exact same city as you. The mayor was not the only person elected a few years ago. By the way, some of us were elected in the first round, not the 7th or the 8th. The mayor, unfortunately, has been trying to lead from a mandate he just never had. What is happening today is an abomination to what city has voted for. And I want to say, there was actually some amazing talent on that commission. Unfortunately, they have a faulty vision by a mayor who is less interested in actually trying to figure out how to make our charter better and more interested in trying to stifle the People's City Council, led by the first majority woman in history and the first black woman in history. And he's more interested in putting a faulty public safety message out there. That's all he's interested in. This is a wasted time of amazing talent from a mayor who should be ashamed. And I guarantee you a mayor who was borough president and from 100 blacks in law enforcement would be ashamed at himself if his old self would speak to him about what's going on right now. The advice and consent bill, first of all, thank you to the City Council for putting the advice and consent bill forward. It is what the people want and what the people need. But another part of this has to do with the public safety part they're putting forth. They are making it so that anything that has to do with police, I want you to understand that. They say public safety, but they mean police and law enforcement. Has so much extra administrative burden that it's harder for us to do what we have to do. By the way, everything they're asking, more involvement, hearings, actually happened. It happened. And the mayor lost. You cannot, if you want an ego boost, if you want to change a charter because you didn't pay attention and you didn't engage, this is the wrong way to do it. The charter is not for an ego boost, and it's not because you lost to something that you did not use properly, that you did not engage, that you failed to engage. Your failure is not a reason to change the charter. The charter works. It has worked. Now, there are things that we should look at, and I'm all for looking at the Constitution of the City of New York, but let's actually do that. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is a definition of public safety that is solely limited to law enforcement and trying your best to stifle the City Council. So whatever happens here, I believe that we will have the biggest and largest opposition to a proposal by a vast majority of city councils in this city than we have ever seen. And thankfully, they'll be backed up by the vast majority of the people in this city. So my hope is that they vote no, but if they do, we have to make sure we vote no for them. This proposal cannot pass on behalf of the City Council and on behalf of a faulty definition of public safety and pretending that these bills did not go through a proper process of a lot of community engagement over 2 years, which the mayor and his administration did not get itself involved with till the 11th hour. That is a failure of you, sir. That is not a failure of the charter. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Public Advocate Williams. I want to acknowledge all the local electeds that are here today, Council Members Lincoln Ressler, Shahana Hanif, the Speaker, and the Public Advocate. Thank you for being here. And next, I want to invite up Council Member Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much. I speak from some historical perspective, which makes me even angrier about this particular sham discussion. The reason I say this is when I was in the borough president and Tish James was public advocate, we passed a bill in the city council. And guess what? We had a real commission looking at the charter. We had elected representatives from all the elected officials, and we debated for a year and a half. That's a real commission. And one of the things that came out of it, interestingly enough, was advice and consent. Advice and consent from the Corporation Council, and guess what? Sal Albanese was Eric Adams' borough president representative, and he voted for advice and consent. And so did the Republicans from Staten Island, advice and consent. That is the way that you go about a year and a half. At the same time, I have to say de Blasio trying to do the same craziness and stick in one of his commissions. But even then, he had 28 public events and 10,000 participants. This particular commission has had only 12 hearings and nobody knew about them. And they had about 240 people in person, 750 total. That's nobody. That is not how you change a charter. And that's not how you change a constitution. Number two, you heard Jamani and others talk about the public safety sham. I'll talk about the fiscal sham. Do not tell the city council how to do our own work. We know. We know how to deal with budgets and finance. And we know how to do our own fiscal policy statements. There's two branches of government, Mr. Mayor. You're one and we're one and we're equal. Do not tell us how to do it. And you know what? While you're at it, why don't you change the units of appropriation? The U of A, I know I'm in the weeds. People say, Gail, don't get into the weeds. I can't help myself. Why is it that so many agencies, you have no idea what they do? They have one unit of appropriation for salary and another one for paper and goods. How in the world is the public going to know what that agency does? We have to fight for every single unit of appropriation. So don't tell us how to do our fiscal when you can't do yours that's good for the public. Number two, when you talk about cleaning up and sanitation, yes, we want clean streets. We have great respect. But it's thanks to the city council, they got some money to be able to do that. Okay, so you're telling us that you want to go to owners and clean up sanitation mess on their buildings. I'm for that. Who's paying for that? Is the owner paying for that? Is the public paying for that? And guess what? I just did with my interns all the graffiti, 2,221 graffiti instances on the Upper West Side. I have a picture of all of them. So now I have to call the Department of Sanitation. Why aren't they doing this now? Why isn't that part of your program? And of course, public safety, that's ridiculous. You're going to make us tell the city council what to do on bills that we have extensive discussion on? Wrong. Fight, Mr. Mayor. So, we feel very strongly that this particular charter commission is a thinly veiled sham that pretended to listen to the public as a way to weaken the city council, and we will have none of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gail Brewer. Next, I want to bring up somebody who actually testified at one of these sham hearings and has a lot to reveal about this sham process. A Harlem resident and civil rights union leader at Vocal New York, Susan Hadley.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As he said, my name is Susan Hadley. I'm a Vocal New York leader. I also, as he said, I'm born and raised from Harlem. And let me say this. I'm not going to curse because Jemani's mom is here. But let me just start by saying that the charter revision commissioned by the mayor is BS. I believe the initials there. Y'all know what it stands for. It's just a way for the mayor to help himself to have things for him but hurt our communities. It's a lie. The commission does not want public input. I can speak because I was at the hearing. And let me tell you how it went. You walk in there, all of the mayor's cronies and allies and donors are sitting there at the table, and they got to speak as long as they wanted to, with no problem. After I waited 3 hours to speak, I was rudely cut off and asked to send an email. How is that possible? That's not caring. They don't want to really hear from the public. You know, I was very insulted by that. What I have to say is important, and they need to listen and hear me. Then just the other night, I finally got to see what this commission is supposed to be about, what they're going to put on the ballot. And sure enough, it's all the things the mayor wants and has been trying to do, but nothing about us. That's not right. That ain't right. Where's the part about addressing the homelessness crisis? Where's the part about me being able to keep my apartment? Nothing. So I'm going to say this. Only things that the mayor will give the mayor more power was there. Undermining democracy and hurting my community. So I'm going to close with this. We will keep telling people to vote no on this BS ballot initiatives. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Susan Hadley. We're going to move the agenda along. Next, I want to bring up New York State Senator Julia Salazar.
Thank you. I will try to be brief because I think that the important points have already been made, but it's very important for everyone to understand that this Charter Revision Commission process has been a sham. It's been a joke, but it's not a very funny joke. It's not funny because the truth is it truly poses a threat to our local democracy. It undermines our duly elected city council who are elected to represent the interests of New Yorkers, and it does so at our expense. It does so seeking to give even more power to the mayor and, per their recommendations, also to the NYPD. This is completely counterintuitive. This is the opposite of what we need in New York City. We need more accountability from the executive. We need advice and consent. It is important that at the state level, I serve in the state Senate, that many of the appointments made by the executive, our governor, are subject to the advice and consent of the state Senate. And this is absolutely essential. It is essential accountability that we increasingly are using, which we should be doing. It's something that our legislative body here in New York City, should also have. This has been a sham of a process. On Monday night, when the Charter Revision Commission held a hearing just a few days ago, it really was cynical and disingenuous that they encouraged people during the hearing to submit public testimony, and yet within 24 hours they issued their recommendations that they'll be discussing today, just 2 days ago. It was only 2 months ago that this process began. That's totally unacceptable. It's amateur hour. It's ridiculous. We know this isn't the way that government is supposed to function, and that decisions that will impact New Yorkers are supposed to be made. So we are demanding, do not add any of the proposals, the recommendations from the commission to the ballot in November. It's just the wrong thing to do. There needs to be a more comprehensive and transparent process for making these decisions that impact the lives of New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Julia Salazar. Next, we want to bring up the New York State Assembly member, Harvey Epstein.
So this is about democracy. It is about the future of New York City. And when a mayor puts together a rushed commission to come out with a rushed vote and a quick decision, you question the values of democracy. We are clear here today that this commission has to vote no, because the council did their work. They did their diligence. They came up with a proposal after conversations and conversations across the city to make New York better. Unfortunately, this plan doesn't do that. The plan that the mayor put forward is a response to a deliberative process that we can't let prevail. So today we ask this commission to vote no. If not, like the public advocate and the speaker said, we will make sure New Yorkers vote no. Because this is our city. This is what we believe in. We believe in separation of powers. We believe in the power of the council. We believe that they should work together to make things done, and when it doesn't work, there's a power of the override. That is why we have a balance of powers, and that's what this is about, and that's what we're fighting for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Epstein. Next, we want to bring up another state elected official, Assemblymember Zoran Kwame Mamdani.
How we all doing? You know, we stand here seeing a mayor who is not content with simply single-handedly making New York City more expensive for New Yorkers. He wants to show himself allergic to accountability. When we have heard the phrase again and again that democracy is on the ballot this November, it was not supposed to be the subversion of it on the back of the ballot. I stand here alongside my colleagues at the city and state level, New York City advocates and organizers and just plain New Yorkers, in saying that we will stand against this mayor's attempt at subverting the advice and consent and deliberation that this council has been working on for months, and his attempt to try and replace this with something that we know has been haphazard to the full definition of that word. This is a mayor whose proposal had a hearing in Staten Island that was attended by a grand total of 5 people. This is a mayor who had his first hearing where only half of the commissioners even attended that hearing. And you want to tell us that this is reflective of what New Yorkers demand and deserve? This is going to be something that we demand it is voted against in this moment by this commission. But if it comes to the ballot, as my colleague, Assemblymember Epstein, has said, then we will not even have to rally our constituents because we constantly hear from them every single day, how can I oppose this mayor's agenda? And we will simply tell them that the next step is turning over your ballot and voting no on Election Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblymember Mamdani. Our last speaker is New York City Council member and member of the Progressive Caucus, Shahana Hanif.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Councilmember Shahana Hanif. I represent neighborhoods in Brooklyn, and I'm the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. My colleagues have already pointed out that what's happening before our eyes is a sham. It is anti-democratic. It's counterfeit. And what I want to emphasize is, of course, we want a separation of powers. But what I want to get at is that the impacts these proposals will have, if passed, will set a very dangerous precedent for New Yorkers for decades to come. And that is not okay. The mayor has been petty, and he's created a runway towards authoritarianism, to be very frank. His failed campaigns against the How Many Stops Act and against ending solitary confinement should not mean changing an entire constitution of our city to pause and stagnate what should be transformative public safety reforms. This is not okay. My colleagues and I attended the public hearing in Jamaica, Queens earlier this week, and it was also clear that some of these commissioners have no idea what advice and consent really mean. Right. This is already a task that the council has. We would not be doing anything different to undermine appointments, but rather what this would do is create a more responsive, transparent, accountable government for New Yorkers, for the health and safety of New Yorkers. So I stand united with my colleagues. I stand united with our speaker who's been leading on this charge, and this coalition that will make sure that New Yorkers vote down these harmful proposals. Thank you all so much.
Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Whose city?
Our city.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
First, thank you to all the speakers and the team that organized this, concerned individual New Yorkers and groups including the Justice Committee, Make the Road New York, New York Civil Liberties Union, Partners for Dignity and Rights, Vocal New York, and groups that came out including Common Justice, El Puente, Faith in New York, Freedom Agenda, Immigrant Defense Project, Catal Center for Equity and Health and Justice, Latino Justice, Latino Justice, Legal Defense Fund, New Kings Democrats, Street Vendor Project, Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, and the People's Plan, and all the elected officials who came out. At this point, I'll ask all the speakers to come to the front, and I'll open up to the press for any questions. Oh, go ahead.
So, everyone, Michael Szycki, Assistant Policy Director with the New York Civil Liberties Union. Don't even know what's in this yet, but the Charter Revision Commission just issued an updated, amended set of proposals that they're about to vote on. Zero notice, zero transparency, proving that this is an absolute sham of a process.
Are there any questions? Any questions? What kind of questions?
With the expectation that these will make the ballot, push against them come November. It's going to take some money from the State Television Act, from the coalition, come up with those sort of funding that sort of power.
I mean, I sued the mayor last time, de Blasio. I was the only one. So I'm just saying those two stupid agencies that exist, I tried to get rid of. I don't think they should exist. It takes a lot of, we didn't have the coalition. I think this kind of coalition, and to be honest with you, people who are concerned about what's being rammed down their throats, I think the money will come, and I think we can do it in a very short time period. We'll have to see. They can also be so complicated on the ballot that they're hard to understand. And that's sometimes what happens. So what I would say is let's see what comes on the ballot, and I think there will be a great anti-referendum. But we have to make sure, as Donna suggested, that we don't forget to vote yes on the state ERA.
I mean, I just want to add on that this is going to be complex. It's going to be a task for us because the proposals are in this year's ballot, which is going to be a high voter turnout election. And one that's super serious for our democracy nationwide. So, you know, I'm anxious, as we all should be, given the timeline that we have. And as we've seen historically, ballot measures tend to pass. So we're going to be organized. We're looking forward to this coalition and working with our speaker and the entire council to ensure that we're able to push back on this anti-democratic process.
I don't know. We had one, advice and consent, that was it. I would say it's still in the works, but I think it would come together very quickly. It's not hard to do. I'm sure somebody besides me knows the answer to that question, but it's ads, it's also editorial boards, and it's grassroots organizing. And I have to say, in today's climate, when people are pissed off about government in general, I think this would be easier than it has been in the past, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sorry, I would just like to add, like, yeah, money is a topic, but we also have volunteer work, right? Like, we have nonprofit organizations, we have a lot of grassroots work that we could do, and, like, our members are ready. Like, we're ready to talk to voters, stores, phones, do what we have to do. And I made a little joke, but it's not a fucking joke. It's extra work for us, but we're ready, and our community is ready to do the work. We know how hard it was going to be on November anyways, and now adding this to our agenda, but we're prepared.
I just wanted to know, obviously, if it got on the ballot, is the city council still planning to push for next year to get on the ballot still?
I think the game plan, we don't know if there'll be a special election between now and next year. I mean, that could be another possibility. So yes, the city council is still looking to pass advice and consent, to answer your question.
And I just wanted to follow up, you served on Charter Revision Commission, did you come up with good proposals, but what is the difference between those commissions in the past that have come up with the ballot versus this?
Number one, we had a year and a half. There's only been two good commissions. 1989, which created Jamani Williams and all the public advocate stuff. And number two, I was there. And number two was mine and Tish's, which created with every elected official, council, controller, public advocate, mayor, everybody representing on that commission. And that was a year and a half of debate and discussion. And there was a whole slew, and I indicated one, which was advice and consent. That's the difference. All the other ones have been shams, including this one. We haven't seen them yet. Let's see them. Or you have to organize and raise money and have ads, editorial, and discussions. I mean, that's how we've always done it. Not different than running a campaign on a topic. How what? Well, because we can't, the way it works under the law is if they put forward ballot proposals, the city council cannot. That's the bottom line. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's just, I don't know. But I created that. I want to be clear. That's my commission and Tish James's commission. Let's be clear. But I'll take it. I got tough shoulders and thick skin. Anything else? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, everybody.